Let me see if the audio is working well. One moment, y'all. Just one moment. Check this on my phone. Just wait. Okay, let me. All right. Okay, good. I checked it out. You should be able to hear me clearly. Welcome, everyone. It's me, Ari Dosset, call me Rashid. If you're Italian, call me Emiliano. This is my second name for name. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Here with another live for you. I request you please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, also become a member of the channel if you're not yet, if you're not a member yet. Please donate the links below. Thank you much for your support. It's very much appreciated. You can check my novels on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, where you can find them. If you want to book a session with me, a one-on-one consultation, check the fees and instructions in the description box below. Thank you very much. And above all, I want you to pay close attention to this live stream, take notes, pray about it afterwards, and where this knowledge applies in your life, apply this knowledge to glorify our Heavenly Father. Thank you. All right. Before I begin, how are you all doing today? Let me know loud, please. How are you all doing today? God is good. God is good. It's 8:07 p.m. here in The Hague. So the live stream came right on time. In this live stream, I want to explain a phenomenon that it's not that people don't know it's happening, but it's not often explicitly mentioned. Okay, so to start now, I'm going to share my screen with you, and just know I'm an anthropologist and a sociologist. I also have a lot of historical knowledge, and I share this information to inform you and to help you in serving our Heavenly Father. Okay, it's up to you to process information properly and to do God's will with it. All right. Now, let me share the screen. One moment. Okay. Now, what is a disclaimer? Okay, let me make this a bit bigger for you all. A disclaimer is a statement that limits liability, clarifies scope of rights, or disavows responsibility. Let's do it one more time. A disclaimer is a statement that limits liability. Liability means when something happens, like there's damage or there's extra cost, you're liable. When you're liable means that they can charge you for it. For example, let's say you own a let's say you own a house, and or you rent a house, better said. You rent a house, the contract's on your name, and there are guests over there making noise, and the neighbors complain about it. Even though it's the guests at your house who are making all the noise, the police will hold you liable because it's your house. You let these people in, and if the people are not behaving well, causing this stress to the community, you should have kicked them out. So you're going to be charged now. It does mean that in some cases the visitors can be charged too, but in this case, because the house is on your name and it is because your name's on the contract, you're held liable. Let's say you have a bank account, okay, and one of your cousins asks you, "Yo, can I use your bank account for a few days? I just need to do some transactions or get my salary." I said, "Sure, man. Here it is." So you let them use your bank account. You even give them your details to log in. Now, let's say you did this in good faith because you trust your cousin. What if your cousin now instead transfers criminally earned cash to your account? So he has cash. Let's say your cousin sells drugs, and he put all the cash on your account, and now he sends the cash towards other people. Now, if the police finds out, they'll arrest your cousin, but they also will arrest you to ask if you're complicit. Now, if they find out you're not complicit in his criminal activity, they can still hold you liable in a court of law because you should have checked why your cousin wants to borrow your bank account. And by the way, why can't he make his own bank account? If he has some bank account, register to borrow yours. So the fact is to borrow your bank account alone is a bit weird. And if you notice something off with the transaction, if you would have informed your bank immediately, they would be more believable. Anyway, let me say it like this. Liability simply means that you can be charged for any damage or this or any type of bad outcomes that happen. This is liability. Now, scope of rights simply means what are someone entitled to or not. For example, if you buy a CD or a DVD, now there's still people buying CDs, DVDs. If you buy a CD or DVD, you're entitled to play the songs or to watch the movie on the CD or DVD, but you're not entitled to manipulate that song and publish anywhere. So let's say it's a CD of a boy band or a girl band that you purchased, and now you want to take that song and publish it anywhere on YouTube. Now you're entitled to that CD where you can play the song with, but you can't use the song itself because the song is not made by you. There's copyright on it. Or let's say you bought a movie on on a DVD, and now you want to upload the movie somewhere. Well, even though it's not forbidden to upload things, for example, to a hard drive or to a cloud, digital cloud, whatever, it is forbidden to publish movies just like that. It would, in some cases, it is prohibited to do that. Even though it does happen, you can download movies already published, but upload themselves. In some cases, you can be arrested for that. And in the past, you have been arrested for it. So, scope right is how far can you go? Um, Responsibility, only responsibility is your ability and something even obligation to respond to something constructively. That's responsibility. So a disclaimer is a statement that limits liability, clarifies scope of rights, or disavows responsibility. It's used to inform people that the provider of information or services isn't liable for any consequences. Disclaimers are common in legal context, but also in general communication to manage expectations or avoid misunderstandings. So there are some examples over here. Um, okay, for example, let's say now that you have an headache and you go to pharmacy to get some medication. The pharmacist, you tell the pharmacist, ma'am, I have such a headache, you all need something against the headache. If the pharmacist tells you, sir, here's a pill, you take this, guaranteed headache will be gone. Now, if she is she has a medical background and she can back it up, that she doesn't need any disclaimer. But she has to tell you, sir, please read the package well. Because on the package, it mentions the side effects of it. So let's say you take the medication a bit too much, later you have health issues and you go to the hospital. If it was not written on the package of the medication there are side effects, then the company is liable. And also the pharmacist, the pharmacy and the pharmacist are liable. But if the pharmacist informed you to check the package and you didn't read the package, just took the pills, well, in this case, there's no liability on them because they informed you that there are side effects. Okay? Now, let's say now you share a YouTube lecture from someone, but individual that's but the lecture you share is from an individual that's a bit controversial. And you mention sharing is not endorsement. You don't think you mentioned that when you share it on your social media. Sharing is not endorsement. Or you say it's just for educational entertainment purposes only. I don't agree with everything. So by mentioning, you're not automatically endorse it. By sharing it, you prevent people from associating you with the content. Let's say now you share a lecture from someone, but that individual has controversial views on women's rights or on their bit racial, whatever. If you share the content of that controversial individual, you will be associated with that individual. But if you mention it's just for educational purposes, now people can realize, okay, maybe he or she posted this lecture from this individual because they endorse individual, but maybe not. Hey, this is for educational purposes only. So hey, you can't hold it against them. Or let's say now you're talking about a cold case online, and you suspect someone that someone committed the murder. If you say alleged in your statement or you mention in the in the description of live stream, everything said in this live stream is alleged, guess what? Let's say you say, oh, I think Tom did it, yo. I think Tom did it, this and this. Let's say this Tom individual real life decides to suppress a lawsuit against you for slander. When the judge sees that in the live stream it's mentioned in the description, everything said in this live stream is alleged, the judge will say sorry, but it's written that everything's alleged. If it's alleged, means they admit they don't have that is likely but not proven. So the lawsuit is dropped. But if you don't mention anywhere it's alleged, now they can sue you. So disclaimers are both a legal way and a social way to avoid people from coming at you when things go wrong. So in daily life, we use disclaimers also. But for example, someone wants advice, but you tell them, listen, I'm not an expert, but this is what I would do. By mentioning you're not an expert, or by mentioning you're not that qualified, you actually tell them, listen, whatever I say is for the best intention, but don't come at me when it goes wrong because I don't know it all. You see what I mean? So disclaimers are a handy thing. But one thing we should understand here, a disclaimer is only valid and is only um, justified when it addresses an explicit legal challenge. For example, someone asks for your advice. They don't want to ask for your advice, right? But that's the thing. If they listen to what you say and ends up wrong, listen, if they ask for advice for something medical and you're not medically trained, guess what? You have to mention, hey, I'm not medically trained. So you better go to that. So if you don't put a disclaimer in the conversation, you can, and let's say they ask for your advice for something medically and you give it to them, but you're not medically trained, and later the individual ends up in a hospital or ends up dead because of it, you could be charged now because you for pretending to be a medical expert, giving medical disinformation. But if you mention, well, I'm not an expert, but this is what I would do, but hey, it's just me. So in that case, a disclaimer is to keep you safe from legal attacks. Or if in general, a disclaimer should only be used when it's an actual legal challenge, so that nobody can use anything against you, whatever. A disclaimer is not justified when you just don't want any responsibility. You cannot be, let's say, if you are a real estate manager and you're renting out, let's say you rent out apartment, flats, you've rent out flats out there. You can't say in the rental contract to your tenants, listen, any damage in this building is not my responsibility. Even if the tenant will sign that, if this goes to a courthouse, the judge will say, no, 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 no. You're the one renting this place to the tenants, so it's your responsibility to make sure the building functions well before you rent it. Now, if the building has some defects, you have to inform the tenant ahead of time in the contract of the defects. Because if you rent out a flat with defects in it, but you don't mention to the tenant finds out later on that you're liable and you can be fined, rightfully so. But if you inform the tenant of it and the tenant signed, okay, now the tenant cannot hold you liable anymore. But anyway, I hope you understand what this, for specifics on disclaimers, you can go to any legal experts because it is different per jurisdiction in the world. But understand this: disclaimers, whether in a legal sense or just in daily life in conversations, is about making sure everyone understands that you either don't endorse something or that you don't want to be involved if things go wrong. Now, understand this: if a disclaimer is used and it does relate to a specific legal challenge, legal means that someone now becomes entitled or they become they have an advantage in pressing charges against you, either in a court of law or just informally to make life hard on you. If a disclaimer does not address a specific legal challenge, then the disclaimer is nothing but a narcissistic excuse. For example, who of you ever heard the saying? Because this is a saying that went out of some years ago. There's a saying that went around on memes online. It was like this: "I'm responsible for what I say, not for what you understand." We heard of this saying before. I'm responsible for what I say, not for what you understand. How many here, if you heard this saying before, let me know in the live chat. I'm responsible for what I say, not for what you understand. All right, hold on. Okay, let me share the screen again. Hold on. Ah, I found it right over here. It's accredited to this guy called John Wayne, where I'm not sure whether it's a quote he said, or there's another version. I'm only responsible for what I say, not how you interpret it. Now, this statement over here, it sounds good, but hold on a minute. Before you even speak or before you talk, you need to know who your audience is. If you want to talk simply means you make sound with your mouth. You mean you just say something. You just talking simply means you just say something. Speaking means you express an actual conviction. There's a difference between the two. But before you open your mouth towards people, you first need to know who you're dealing with. If you want to talk to someone that's Chinese and they don't know any other language but Chinese, but you don't know any Chinese, you open your mouth to talk to them. Listen, they can only speak Chinese and you don't speak Chinese. How do you think it's going to work out? If you want to talk to someone about mathematics and the individual is mentally impaired, what are you doing? Uh, or if you want to talk about the history of Germany, whatever, go into detail, you have to do that with an historian or best someone who's a historian and knows the German language. Because if you talk to someone from Germany about the depths of German history, but they don't even know their own history well, guess what? So yes, you are responsible for what you say. That's true. But the thing is, you're also responsible for why you say it and to who you're saying it. If you if you wanna if you wanna talk about, let's say now you want to talk about some topic, okay? And but the audience you have are people who are illiterate. They actually have a low level of understanding of life. They have a low level of intellect. And let's say now you give a lecture, you give some advice, some consultation in your lecture. But now people listen to your lecture and they totally misunderstood what you said and they act out in a negative way on it. Let's say, for example, I make a YouTube video and I give an advice to, let's say, I talk about abusive marriages as a topic. And I say, for your own safety, it's not good to stay with a partner that's abusive. Get out. Okay? Let's say I say this in one of my videos. Let's say someone hears this and decides to ask for divorce or even kick the partners out of the house based on the fact that they got advice online from someone to do this. In this case, they will say, I got it from Ari Dossett. But what if the individual who's doing this was the abuser and was projecting it onto the other spouse? It's a complicated situation. If Now in this case, no police, no judge come at me because I'm just making a YouTube video. But here's the thing: if I said in the video, please, before you make any decisions, pray about it or look for consultation. Guess what? If I say this in the same video, now if they act stupid towards a spouse, people say, okay, you listen to this guy online giving advice about leaving a spouse is abusive. But the guy also said, go get some consultation or pray about it. Did you do any of those things? No. So there's no way you can blame the other guy for it. Look, for example, if there's a vaccine coming out and you warn people, don't take the vaccine, don't trust it. If you're not someone with a medical background with receipts, um, guess what? You can now be sued because now let's say someone does not take that vaccine and they suffer damage. Now people can sue you and also YouTube for the medical damage. But if you say, listen, this is my opinion, I will not take it because this and that, guess what? Now you can't hold liable. So what I'm saying is disclaimers are healthy and they're practical. It also keeps you safe from potential retaliation. So yes, you are responsible for what you say, but you're also responsible for how you say it. Because if you say it in a way that will cause confusion in other people, then you are responsible for how they understand it. But if you say things in a good way, with full explanation based on the level of your listeners, now either your listeners are listening to you or they don't. If they're listening towards you, then they're fully informed. If they're not listening to you, then it's not on you because you fully explain to the best of your ability on their level. That's why I also give parables and long explanations often of what I'm saying on YouTube so that nobody can come and say, well, Rashid said this, he said that. So let's say now someone would blame me for a bad outcome in their life. And let's say the relatives and even the police, everyone would watch my live stream and say, hold on a minute, this guy even mentioned on his channel, hold on a minute. He does know everything, do your own research. Okay. So that means everything you see on his channel, you have to do your own research too. Saying the guy even gave a long explanation of what he actually meant with it. So if the guy gave a long explanation of what he meant, but you act in a way that how you understood it, that means that you simply were not listening to this guy. So that's what I mean. So you are responsible for what you say, but you also are responsible for how you bring it. Because if you bring in such a way that brings confusion, or you bring in a way that's a bit deceptive, then you are responsible for the wrong interpretation of other people. Now, the other people that listen to you also have the responsibility to discern you, but it does take away that you're the one who triggered a bad outcome if it goes wrong. Now, a statement like this is not a statement like this is not an actual disclaimer. It's a narcissistic excuse. People say things like this when they don't want to be called out for either being mean or being vague or being toxic. People that don't want to work on their communication skills, who don't want to work on their social skills, they may say things like this. Oh, fear, I'm not only responsible for what I say, not how you interpret it. Why? Because they don't want to face their own defects. And because they want to face their own defects, they want you to just put up with whatever defect they have without ever or forcing them to change or force them to face consequence or whatever. So disclaimers that can't be justified are nothing but narcissistic excuses. And that's what I'm going to continue with you all here. Okay. First, let's explain what we'll explain what the disclaimer is. Let's go what a fetish is. We won't spend much time on this, not necessary now. Fetish here, a form of sexual desire in which gratification is strongly linked to a particular object or activity or a part of the body other than the sexual organs. Okay. So people have a feet fetish, they love feet very much. Some have a leg fetish, some have a cheek fetish. There are type of fetishes out there. But the fetish isn't just something sexual. What's the second meaning of a fetish? An inanimate object worshipped for its supposed magical powers or because it's considered to be inhabited by spirits. So a fetish is not only a sexual desire linked to a body part or sexual activity. A fetish can also be a type of superstition in which you assume a non-living object is either used by a spirit being or that a non-living object has some magical powers. Okay? So, and the origin of the word fetish comes from Latin factitious. Okay? English factitious. Now, what is factitious here? Artificially created or developed. Okay? Comes from Latin factitious, made by art, or from facere, a verb is do or to make. Now, so a fetish, in the second meaning of it, is when there's superstition concerning an inanimate object. Now, but an inanimate object is not about an inanimate object. Let's say there's a statue in a graveyard, and people assume that statue keeps the graveyard safe from grave robbers. Well, rationally speaking and scientifically speaking, that's just a statue. The statue is not a living creature. The statue cannot move. The statue cannot just a statue of stone or metal, whatever. But let's say now that people falsely believe that a statue is protecting the graveyard. In this case, there's a fetish concerning that statue in the graveyard. Not because the statue, the object itself, but because people's false belief about it. So a fetish that's not related to anything sexual is always a false belief about something. It's a false belief about something that consumes your behavior and your focus. So, for example, no, black cat's not a good one because that's an animate object. But let's say now there's certain coins, and people, let's say there's a fetish concerning copper coins, and people say if you throw this copper coin into the fountain, you'll have good luck. The coin is just copper. Copper thrown into a fountain, which you throw it in water, that's it. But if you believe that throwing a coin in this copper coin in a fountain will give you good luck or good fortune, well, the coin falling in the water of the fountain doesn't do anything. You just have now a fetish towards this a copper coin, think that's a copper coin will somehow will bring you good luck if you do use it in a certain way. So now, is the second meaning of fetish clear to you all? Fetish clear to you all? Let me know in the live chat. Is the second meaning clear? Let me know. Very important for me to continue. Is the second meaning clear to you all? Let me know. Let me see your answer in the live chat. So, understand this. A disclaimer fetish, or as I call it, disclaimer fetishism, is when people think that putting disclaimers out there in itself will give them a free pass from any bad or uncomfortable consequence in life. When people have this intense false belief, because it's false, when people have this insistence, this obsessive belief, thinking that just because they use a disclaimer, they can never face any bad outcomes or unpleasant outcomes at all. I'm sorry, but that is the disclaimer fetish or disclaimer fetishism. This is what it is. And disclaimer fetishism can either be someone is not mentally well, and that's why they have this strong superstition that actually brings some damage in life. But often a disclaimer fetish is when someone's either a narcissist or they are close to becoming a narcissist or just a wasteful human being that just insists on always remaining unbothered by obligation and responsibilities, no matter how they behave. And that is what I'm about to warn you for in this live stream. Okay? When someone has a disclaimer fetish, as I mentioned before, either they're mentally ill, they're not well, and they need counseling because they have this strong superstition when it comes to disclaimers that really doesn't add up with reality, or, and this is often the case, someone with a disclaimer fetish is someone that simply wants to go through life and never, under any circumstance, want to be held accountable, responsible, nor liable for anything out there. They don't want any obligation, any responsibility towards anyone nor anything, and expect you to put up with it. The other side is if you behave the same way towards them, they'll get upset with you. So a disclaimer fetish is how reprobates operate. But it's not only reprobates. A reprobate can either be a sociopath, psychopath, or a narcissist. But anyway, it's not only reprobates operate like this. Wasteful people, people that are close to reprobation, they're not reprobates, sociopaths, psychopaths, or narcissists. No, they're not that, but they're getting close to it. Wasteful people have this disclaimer fetish going on. They think that just by using a disclaimer, or by saying they're not interested or they don't want to hear it, that somehow that justifies them being wasteful and neglectful. I have a question for you very quickly. How many of you know someone who uses disclaimers almost every time they speak, over and over again? That means people often say, I'm not interested, or people often say they don't want to hear it, or people often say things like, well, I don't owe anyone anything, or people that say, I don't have to often, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, or people that say, well, or people say things like, that's private, it's none of your business, or whatever. Do you know people use those phrases often? Let me know in the live chat. If you have people who often use negating statements when it comes to obligation and responsibilities, you're dealing with someone with a disclaimer fetish. They think that just by by either stating with their mouth or through their actions, writing it down either on social media or someone just by walking away, they think that they don't owe anything to anyone. That people can just that is just off the hook completely. And let me tell you one thing: someone like this, you have to recognize what you're dealing with. If they're mentally ill and they need help, counseling, lead the people and give them counseling if you're not the one qualified for it. But if they're not mentally ill and need help, that means you're the one who need help to be free from these people. Because someone with a disclaimer fetish and it's not because of mental illness, it means that they are a wasteful individual. They are people that will see something bad unfold, and instead of warning other people or give hint, okay, something's off, guys, they will keep their mouth shut, act like they didn't see anything, and later when the full results happens, they're going to act so surprised. Okay, I have another question for you. Do we know people who are always surprised of anything off in the community? Anything that's off about any topic you mention in the place where they grew up or in the country where they live, they're always so surprised. You will feel like, whoa, this is a bit awkward. You're an adult, a grown man or a grown woman, and you're so surprised that this type of dysfunction happens in the world. Do you know people like this? I know some people can be naive, but even naive people know, okay, sometimes bad things happen. Even naive people eventually realize, you know what, I need to admit something's off here. But do you know people are always by default so surprised when they hear about bad things happening, even things that relate to their own neighborhood where they live? You know people like that? If you know someone like that, you're dealing with someone with a disclaimer fetish. That's an individual that's wasteful. They know things are off around them, but they don't want to acknowledge that they have an obligation towards the community to be a safe and trustworthy human being. They do demand other people to be safe and trustworthy towards them, but they themselves don't think that they ought to reciprocate the same thing towards the community. So it's only the community that owes them in their mind, not them owing the community. Someone like that, you shouldn't even want them around you. You shouldn't invite them to your house. You should not have any phone calls with them. You should not be responding to text messages. You should not even want to even spend time with them. I'm not telling you to be hostile and nasty towards them. Hell no. Just know you have to keep yourself away from such individuals as much as possible and never ever involve such people in what you are doing. I mentioned this before on my live stream. You will know what you're dealing with by someone's fruit. Remember, didn't you say you will know them by their fruit? Too often we judge people based on our fruit, based on how we are. If you are a decent, stable human being and you judge others based on how stable and decent you are, I'm sorry, but you're out of your mind for doing that. Listen, if everyone around you is stable and decent, guess what? You can do that then because everyone is like you. But what if you're dealing with someone who is either mentally ill or you're dealing with someone worse, who's just a wasteful human being? You can't judge them based on your good quality because they don't have those qualities. So you need to realize, okay, if this individual is mentally gone, then they're mentally gone. And you have to, and they will show they're mentally gone. And now you know, okay, so the proof is they're mentally gone because this is how they behave in a very illogical, harmful way, self-destructive way. Or if someone is wasteful and they're always either causing direct harm or they allow harm to happen in the community, now based on their fruit in their life, you can figure out they're a wasteful individual. Don't judge people based on your own good qualities, or don't judge people based on just what the Bible says. Judge people on what they reveal in their lives. Anything someone reveals without any pressure on them, that's what you're dealing with. And one part of the fruit of someone's life is where do they show up? Okay, I mentioned before in one of my other live streams, we're going to use example again. Let's say you have a guy called Jack, and Jack shows up at the red light district. Hmm. Okay, it could be Jack is a tourist and he lost his way in town and he ended up in the red light district and thinks, what the heck am I doing here? If that's the case, okay. So let's say someone takes a picture of Jack being at the red light district on a certain day. Is that proof that Jack was cheating on his wife with a prostitute? No. It could be Jack was just walking around looking for a specific street. Either he's a tourist and doesn't know the area and he ended up in the red light district, or it could be that Jack was on the way to visit a friend or a store and he was walking through the street just to go to that store. So just because he was seen walking in a red light district doesn't mean he was cheating on his wife or he had any interest in the prostitutes or he had any criminal dealing. So if you would show a picture of Jack walking through that light district, I'm sorry, but that's just evidence. is suggestive that, okay, he might be cheating on his wife, or he might want to go to a prostitute, he might be doing this. So that's evidence, but it's not proof. Now, if you have a video footage of Jack actually entering the house of a prostitute, okay, this also is evidence, not proof. It could be that prostitute there is a family member, and he went there to warn her or tell her, why you're in this lifestyle, get out. It could be that Jack is an undercover police officer that went there just get information. He didn't actually have sex with a prostitute. Or it could be Jack is a mail carrier who just had to deliver mail. And as a mail carrier, it's not your concern what people are doing there directly. So anyway, just because Jack is filmed entering the location of the prostitute itself is just evidence, it's not proof yet. But now, if you have photographs of him kissing the prostitute, or actually having sexual intercourse with the prostitute, or better, you have a film of it, a tape. Now that is proof. It's not evidence anymore. It's proof now that he was into prostitution, or that he simply was cheating on his wife if he's married. So again, proof and evidence are not the same thing. Okay, but let's say now Jack is seen one time at the red light district. Is that proof he's involved? Now, if he's seen multiple times at the red light district, now that's evidence that something may be going on that doesn't add up. But it is proof that he has an interest in that district. What interest is, you don't know. So what I'm saying is look, you have to look at the actual bigger picture. If something happens once, it's just an incident. It happened twice, okay, maybe it happens then. So whatever you call that. It happens twice, it's a pattern. Okay? Now, so if someone in your life, they keep using phrases like, I don't owe anyone anything, I don't have to tell you anything, I don't explain that, or it's none of your business, my business, or often say things like, well, you don't owe anyone anything, everyone's responsible for their own actions. Any time they use any statement that relieves them or from any type of obligation, if they keep doing that over and over again, even if a statement popularized like everyone's responsible for their own actions, well, okay, point a gun at someone and try to take their life and to do something. Are they still responsible for their own actions? Now, no judge will agree with that. Let's say someone has a gun to someone's face and force them to commit credit card fraud. Their lives under threat. Are they still responsible, or is the individual they've gone to the face responsible for so you see what I mean? So or if someone has a mental breakdown, though the childhood trauma that they had no awareness of. You know what I mean? Because let's say someone is aware of childhood trauma and they look healthy for it, that's different. Let's say someone is totally not aware of how damaged they are by the childhood, and now they mentally crash and they act in a weird way, causing harm to themselves, other people. Any judge will tell you they can't hold accountable for it because they were not in a natural state of mind. So the whole statement, everyone is responsible for their own actions, it's not even true legally. It's not even true scientifically. If someone is born in mainland China and they don't speak any Spanish, are they responsible for the actions not knowing Spanish? Come on now, of course not. Listen, anytime people make statements, and the statement is all about them having no obligation or responsibilities, and they keep making statements like that over and over again, you have to admit what you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone that's being wasteful, and whether they are a reprobate or not is irrelevant. You're dealing with a wasteful individual that does not want to look at themselves or up to their defects or damage and improve. They don't want to do the inner work to improve. They don't want to face whether it's childhood trauma, they don't want to face whether it's their own wrong opinions, whether it's their own illiteracy. They don't want to face anything about themselves nor the environment, so they're not interested in solutions. They just want to escape, just walk away without any obligations, and they don't care who is left behind with the damage, or they just want to explode emotionally or take it out physically on someone to relieve themselves and then act like they're the victim. That is what you're dealing with, y'all. And if you're dealing with someone like this, they have a disclaimer fetish. So this is what you do. Let them have the fairy tale. Pretend like you agree with them and just walk away from them. Don't argue with them. Don't call them out. Do any of that. Do not confront them. Do not confront them, because confronting them will be perceived by them as an attack, and that will now be their opportunity to attack you and or do damage, and then they pretend like they felt threatened. Even if nobody will believe them afterwards, if they attack you or cause harm, the harm is already done. They have to deal with the harm for your own sake and the sake of those around you, and for the sake of the community. Do not confront such people. Just pretend like you agree with their fairy tale and just smoothly, peacefully walk away from them and don't engage with them. Do not engage with them. If you contacted you, make excuses why you can't talk to them, and just then can you can archive their phone number or block the phone number or whatever. Listen, do not entertain wastefulness in other people. With wastefulness, I mean wastefulness in an attitude. Do not tolerate wasteful people. When people are dysfunctional, you can't expect the best behavior and the best quality for someone that is functional. If as long as they can admit to being dysfunctional and they're willing to work on it, listen, you can bear with them, you can patient with them, all of that. But the moment someone is just wasteful, I'm telling you, do not linger around that. Don't call spiritual swine. Just leave that individual alone, because they're dangerous. Oh, the statement, I never asked for. They never say I never asked for taxes. They never say that. Because you know that will not work in real life. Oh, I never asked for taxes. No. Or let's say now someone was just run over by a car, and you see it, and you don't call the ambulance, just walk away. In some countries, even some US states, you could be arrested by the police. Why? Because a human life was in danger right in front of you, and you did nothing to prevent the individual from dying. You just let the individual rot there, let the individual perish there. If this is found out, you'll be arrested, you go to prison. Rightfully so. But it's nothing to do with me. I don't know that individual, or I'm not the one that drove the car that hit them. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you have no obligation when something bad happens to your environment. Come on now. Listen to what I'm saying here. Wasteful people will either act on their duty but with resentment, and then they'll use it against everyone else, or they'll simply walk away with any duty they have, like they're entitled to be without obligations throughout their life. Okay, there's a difference between you calling out when someone's expectations go too far and you acting like you don't owe anyone anything. If someone expects you to conform to all the restrictions, you can say, "Well, hold on a minute, I don't have to do this. Why do I have to do this? Because this expectation goes too far." If you renounce any obligation, you should only do that when obligation doesn't add up. Let's say your ex-wife expects you to pay your cash. When you were married with her, you had financial obligation with her directly. If you divorced her and there's no settlement in the divorce agreement that you should send cash towards her, now you can say, okay, but I'm not obliged to keep sending you cash. You're married now to another man, right? So okay, so in some cases you can use this claim, well, I don't have to do this, or I'm not obliged this, or I don't have to. But if people keep using the I don't have to or I never asked for regularly, get away from people like that, y'all. Do not condone this type of attitude ever, y'all. Because such people get used to treating you like an option, like a disposable option. They'll never do this to a police officer or a judge or the employer, but for some reason do it towards you. People like this, they only behave properly when they have to. They only are constructive when it's there to save face or to prevent being disgraced. And one thing about reprobates and wasteful people is, even toxic people for that matter, they don't want to be disgraced. No human being wants to be disgraced. So to prevent a disgrace, sometimes they will act good suddenly from time to time. And by acting good suddenly from time to time, they appear better than they really are, and now that can discredit their victims. Let's say your father or mother or someone you grew up with was not physically abusing you, and now you suffer mental health problems because of it. But what if that individual from time to time was given to charity, or that individual from time to time brought you on a good vacation? Now people say, okay, it could be an individual narcissistic abuser, but hey, they were not that bad because hey, they gave you food, they gave you shelter, they did this, or when you had you see, you know what I mean? Sometimes people refuse help not because they don't want any solution, because they don't trust the individual who offers the help. Let's say family members who have been wasteful towards you for years suddenly want to reach out to you financially to help you out. It could be that they've been talking crap about you behind your back all the time, and now they look bad towards people. So their bad behavior towards you disgraces them. And now suddenly want to help you out financially just to make themselves look good. If you refuse their help, they'll say, you see, he doesn't want help. He's narcissistic. But the thing is, you don't want their help because you don't trust them. And if you have proof why you can't trust them, guess what? But the thing is, they want to appear good, and they know you will decline their help, but they'll offer it anyway, know you'll decline it just to make themselves look good. Now, if people around you don't investigate why you don't want their help, then it's on those people. Someone can be narcissistic, not wanting help. If someone doesn't want any help, doesn't want any solution, in this case, those people are bad news. But not everyone that refuses help is bad news. Some people refuse help because they don't trust the source where help is coming from. Or sometimes people offer you help, but they're compromised. So their help will not be of good effect towards you. And you know what? Refusing help from untrustworthy sources is something you should do, but it may make you look bad. And to prevent that from happening, sometimes God will block people from you. Sometimes people are willing to help you out, but God doesn't allow it to happen. Why? Because God doesn't want you to be in a situation where you have to decline help that is compromised. Because if you do that, it may work against you. You do what's best for you, and it still have a bad effect on you. And God prevents this often by blocking people from you. Some people, God is want to block them from your life so that they cannot reach out with contaminated help towards you. Is this clear to you all? Is this clear? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. God is good. People that go through life always want to be simple-minded, never want to look into anything, and acting so superficial. They also have this disclaimer fetish. They always want to claim, well, I didn't know, so how could you hold me responsible? And let me tell you one thing. People who often are so strict about their privacy, about being private men, watch other people like that. It's one thing that you don't want people to show your address, your phone number everywhere. It's one thing that you want people to just follow you around with a camera and all of that. But for you being so scared of people being able to track you down and know things about you, that means you have something to hide, something's off about you. Okay, let's say now that there is let's say now there's child abuse happening. Let's say now let's say now there's sex predators on the loose, molesting children in the neighborhood, and many children show disruptive behavior out of the blue. If many children show disruptive behavior around the same time, you need to ask yourself what goes on over here. It can't all be bad parenting. You know what I mean? So let's say now, I knew about this teacher from the United States. Okay, this teacher, I had contact with him. I gave him some consultations. And this teacher one time told me, Rashid, years ago when I was teaching class, there were some children that kept misbehaving very loudly. And one time I asked the parents, what goes on with your child? The parent kept saying, I don't know, Rashid, I don't know. I had multiple talks with the parent to find out why your child behaves so badly. One day, the superintendent called me to his office and say, listen, I'm not going to say the name of the individual because that's not necessary. But the superintendent told the individual, listen, they're lying to you. And the teacher asked, what do you mean, sir? The teacher told him, listen, they're lying to you. Those parents know exactly why the child's behaving that way. And later came out that one of the children in question was being sexually molested by a relative. So in this case, the child was acting out in a horrible way, which was quite unusual. So the question should have been, what goes on with the child? But thing is, it's a child. The child is an environment. What's wrong in the child's environment? The child's acting out like this. You know what I mean? So how come the parent never knows what goes on? If the parent has no clue why the child's behaving that way, you should ask for help. You should go to see a child psychiatrist, a child psychologist, or they just should call the authorities, or just ask around, or investigate people close to the child. But if a parent over and over keeps saying, I don't know why child's behaving this way, they're lying to you. Because if they would tell you, well, this child, I'm being very, my wife is very mean towards my son, very mean. That's why my son is traumatized. If he confesses towards you, he now can be arrested by the police for child endangerment. Because if you know that your wife or whoever it is around you or your husband is mistreating the child and you don't stop them or call the cops on them, means that you are letting it happen to the child. It means you're complicit in child abuse. So by them keep saying, I don't know, but them keep acting surprised, they hope you fall for it so that they cannot hold liable. Let's say now that um, let's say now that there is a political party that is spreading hate doctrine. And let's say now people vote this political party. If a political party comes into office and puts on hateful policies, who's responsible? Of course, hateful party is responsible for putting out those policies, but who voted for this party? Being so openly hateful. And in this case, the government will keep hidden with privacy laws who vote for this party here's the thing: the people that vote for this hate-filled political party, they are questionable too. Because why would you give your vote to such a party? Now people want to keep hidden that they vote for the party because the moment it comes out that they don't want to vote for the party, their life is over. Rightfully so. Thing is, a lot of people insist on privacy all the time. Why? Because they know that they're questionable and they don't want to face any bad consequences for it. Either they were involved with the wrong people and now they don't want to be able to answer why they did that, or because they're actually involved right now with people or circumstances or situations they shouldn't be part of at all, where it's criminal or something questionable. So that's why they want to go through life being questionable, but get away being questionable, even dangerous. Is what they want. And unfortunately, often the government and the courthouse will side those people by holding questionable privacy laws. Now, don't get me wrong, data protection should happen. Nobody should just have access to all your information or have access to all your whereabouts or access to all your medical records. However, if there are questionable things happening, there should be openness of information. If a murder happened in your neighborhood and the police wants to know where were you at the time and you don't want to answer, guess what? You, if you were not a potential suspect, now you are a suspect because they think, hold on a minute. Why? You can even if you get a lawyer to talk for you, the lawyer will ask you what goes on because the lawyer is not allowed by law to mislead the court. So if you are somehow involved with some type of controversy that may have contributed to an individual dying, your lawyer must know how to represent you. And thing is, if a random individual or a journalist will ask, where were you at the time? You can say that's none of your business. Get on my face. But if the police comes to ask you that, people just answer. You know why? Because the police can retaliate against you with the force with the violence of the law. So people are not that private or introvert when an authority figure stand in front of them, an authority figure with backup, because they know they can't get away being so quote unquote private. Again, if someone is a bit close off from others, that can be tolerated as long as it doesn't harm the stability and safety of the community. If someone puts their quote unquote reclusiveness or their private attitude above the well-being of both the people around them and themselves, you're dealing with a pathology now. Simple as that. Watch out with people who want to be so private all the time, y'all. What is about them they're hiding? I'm telling you, watch out with people like that. Apply for a visa to go abroad and act so private. See if the embassy will give you the visa to visit the other country. Let's say you want to work in South Africa and go to the South African embassy to get your visa. But during the visa application, being so private, do you really think they're going to give you the visa? Hell no. If you do give you the visa, they'll give a notice about it to the homeland, which of this individual, they're a bit shady. And rightfully so. It's not their business, it's their concern. Because you're going to their country, so they have to account for why they allowed you in the country. Again, Even though people are not entitled to know everything about you, they are entitled to know what it is they're dealing with. Simple as that. Now, I have a question for you all. If someone kept telling you over and over again they don't do anything for you, would you feel comfortable staying involved with an individual? Would you? Let me know in the live chat. If someone keeps mentioning over and over again, even without you asking, that they don't do anything for you, would you feel comfortable and safe around an individual like that? Let me know in the live chat. Would you? Let me know. No, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be at all. And nobody should be so comfortable that they either casually, directly, or indirectly mention you that they don't owe you anything and don't feel like they have any responsibility towards you. Nobody should be comfortable acting towards you like that, because they won't do it to a judge, they won't do it to a police officer, they won't do it towards an employer. Why would they do it towards you? If someone talks to you like that in any way or form, just mark it, just document it, y'all. Not used against them, but for your own safety and sanity, y'all. I don't care if it's a stranger down the street. The stranger down the street may not have as much obligation towards you as your spouse or the people at work you work with. But even as a stranger, a fellow human being, based on natural decency, based on reality, they owe you something at least to be safe and trustworthy. So nobody literally is. If someone tells you they don't owe you anything, that is a criminal statement in itself. Because even the law of the land will not agree with this. Not even demons or Satan would agree with this, y'all. I'm telling you, it's time for you, wherever this listening, to start seeing people for what they are. Don't see them based on your own lack on the inside. If you have lack on your own inside, own up to that. Get therapy, comes with this you need in order to deal with whatever needs to be fixed inside of you. I'm telling you, see people for what they are, not for what you are, how you are. See them for what they are. I'm telling you. Do not condone people with a disclaimer fetish, or do not condone that at all. They're wasteful, so they keep themselves, they hold themselves back from solutions, they hold themselves back from better situations. So they are misfortunate people that keep themselves and others in misfortune. They keep themselves in this self-destructive state, and by doing that, they're also indirectly harming everyone they could come in contact with. And they know it very well, they just don't care, they don't want to deal with it. They think they have the right to do this, but at the same time, they don't want sin to be done towards them. Not all wasteful people are reprobates, but they get close to reprobation if they're not a reprobate, y'all. Do not put up with this. I'm telling you. I don't often need to say is do not put up with this, y'all. I gave it a term now. Disclaimer fetish. If you have disclaimer fetish, I'm telling you, remove your investments, take your losses necessary, and get away from these people, y'all. Just get away, y'all. And if you have to be involved with them for practical reasons, if you have to be involved with them uh, for practical reasons, then only be involved with them for practical reasons. And then don't be around them. They're not your friends. You should, if you want to be friends with people like that, do not confront them, do not argue with them. Just peacefully stay out of their way. And if you need to report them because they're harming the community, you do this anonymously or any other way that will keep you out of danger. Simple as that. Is this all clear to you all? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know, please. Amen. Is this all clear to you all? It's quite important. Do not condone people like that, y'all. Listen, if people are not are not happy about something and they have a good reason not to be happy, again, there needs to be a good reason. There needs to be a justifiable reason. If people are upset with you or they're angry or whatever, and there's no justifiable reason, that means that they have to be checked, y'all. If you have a good reason, okay, then we have to address how to solve it. But you're not going to just get upset and not think because you're upset, you can you just abandon people or you just explode on them like they made you do it. No, what the hell? And society often does this towards the individual. If you do something that others consider either criminal or they consider disrespectful, whether or not you're guilty, they arrest you, put you in jail, send you to court, or they just fire you, or ghost you, or attack you, whatever. Oh, actions have consequences. Oh, but if you ever take action against society, they call it terrorism. But for some reason, they can take action against you. That's what society is, y'all. Not society is a narcissist. That's why we're told not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers and not to conform to the pattern of this world. That's why the Bible tells us not to do any of those things. Everyone that's part of the world is unequally yoked, y'all. Everyone. Don't be unequally yoked with them. Do not be. Anyway, thanks for all of you that's been here in the live stream. If you watch the replay, thank you very much. Please, everyone, donate in the links below. Be generous. Thank you very much for your help and support. Uh, if you want to book a session with me, a one-on-one consultation, I still have space for people. So check the fees and instructions of the book in the description box below. You can check my novels on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all of that. Above all, take notes of this live stream. Pray about it, and if this knowledge applies to you, apply it in a constructive way to glorify Heavenly Father.